All right, guys, welcome back. Today we're going to look at my stats for season 7. I didn't keep stats last season because there was that awesome stat collection from, I think it was Introspective Bethel, I think, from Reddit. And he had collected win loss data on every unit from pulling a lot of G1, I think G1 to G3 units via World Boss and stuff like that. But he hasn't updated in a while, which is sad. I really like that thread. So hopefully he will update that again. But anyway, I kept my personal win loss stats from my units on my account for the last, I'd say, about 2 weeks of RTA, something like that. So these are the units I used, and I've just got, the unit, win percentage, and then number of matches played over here on the side. So we're just going to go through it and take a look at how they performed and maybe discuss what that might mean, for the future, stuff like that. So a couple interesting things right up at the top. Ethna and Bastet, didn't use them at all the last couple weeks. Didn't pick them, didn't play them, which they're great units, but I guess for my team they just kind of didn't work, or my mind didn't go to them, or I felt like I needed something else, so I just left them on the bench. What does that mean? Maybe I should rethink their runes for RTA. Bastet has one of my best Swift sets, and I don't want that sitting on the bench. You know what I mean? Probably next season I'll try to get them in a little more, just give them a good solid try. But if they're not going to make the cut for me when it really matters, then I probably shouldn't rune them up as well as I do. The other one that is sad for me is Elsharian. I feel like I used to use Elsharian quite a bit, and I really like him as a buff remover, but this season I had quite a few options, and bringing a pure buff remover at the end of the season I felt like was costing me. So right before this, I felt like Elsharian was maybe holding me back a little bit, and so I left him on the bench for the last couple weeks. It sort of happened. Rakuni also, I see him a lot in a lot of great comps and a lot of G3 comps, but for me, I didn't rune him high enough, so I didn't trust him, so I didn't use him. Maybe I should because he's great and a lot of people use him, but I did not play him. All right, Tessa. Tessa went 0-2. I played Tessa twice. I feel like for me, Tessa does not do what Tessa's supposed to do. I want Tessa to oblivion things and then kill them quickly, but what ends up happening is Tessa gets killed or banned, and then they just do what they want anyway. So I almost feel like I need to figure out other ways to beat those OP monsters other than Tessa, or prioritize my Tessa with the best runes, which mine is sort of a second tier runes on the Tessa. All right, my number one win rate monster on a tiny sample size was Fran. Picked Fran 4 times, so not a lot. Went 4-0. Even if I had picked her more, just going 4-0 in 4 matches is pretty impressive. The Fran I would pick when I felt like I really needed double immunity, and my double immunity is not what everybody else's double immunity is. It is Fran and Triana. That's it. It's very, very minor amounts of immunity, but just enough. I also like the attack buff, and I like the skill one. I might give Fran a high priority coming up because she's really good, and it's 2-turn immunity, 2-turn attack buff. So I was really impressed with that. But four matches, not enough to really tell, but did well for me. Varad 1-0. The one match I picked him in, it was the correct pick because it was the complete counter to the other team. So Varad did great, but for me, in terms of control, he has sort of fallen out. I have a lot of other control monsters, and my biggest problem with Varad is he doesn't stand up to immunity at all, and the other control monsters I use have some ways to deal with immunity, and so I think they're just a little bit of a better pick. So Varad got picked once and won once. All right, on to the monsters I actually picked a decent amount of the time. Vanessa, number one win rate, 15-5. Played her 20 times. Just a great unit. The speed lead, the defense break. She has my most efficient rune set, actually. I'll dig into my rune efficiencies probably in another video. But Vanessa, 15-5. That sometimes these stats that I take when I win or lose, they surprise me. And that one surprised me because I tend to think Triana is a better pick than Vanessa because of the sustain. And so I tend to pick Triana and leave Vanessa out sometimes. You'll see that from the number of picks coming up, but she's really good. I think some of her win rate is related to the number of times she was picked in conjunction with Triana, because that's a solid little combo. It's like if your Fenyan has a great win rate, but you also pick it with Amelia, right? They work together. You get the combo. Your Gani works with your Hathor. They have a great win rate, but it's the two of them together. So that's my Vanessa. All right, number 2 monster is Jean. I don't feel like I gave Jean a fair shake. You can tell by the number of picks, 11 picks, and those are all near the end. I kind of stumbled onto a comp I really liked in the last week of play, and it made it really easy to, every time I needed a match, to go get a match and kind of get a win. I I think I should have been picking Jean more. I had her on probably my second best violent set, and leaving that on the bench was not smart. I didn't have enough experience with her to trust her in all situations, and as she was in season 7, maybe not after the nerf, but as she was in season 7, she is super trustworthy in a lot of situations. Even when you're, dealing with immunity and she can't get through it, still pretty good. So I was really happy with the Jean, 72% win rate. Okay, Triana, 20 and 10, 66% win rate, 30 matches played. I picked her second most of everything compared to Okeanos. I picked her as many times as Molong. So I like Triana a lot. Especially not having a Wusa as a premier kind of stay alive unit. Triana's really, really great. Mine is on a super tanky build, and so she would buy me turns every time the opponent would work on her. Turns where had you just focused Okeanos and tried to burn him down through the passive, it might have been a quicker kill than trying to kill Triana alone. So that was really great. She worked awesome with Vanessa. No complaints. So there were 5 losses that occurred with Triana and no Vanessa because Vanessa had 5 less losses. So Triana on her own, actually, if we can subtract those numbers out, let's assume they went together every time. I'm not sure that's true, but let's just assume it. I mean, I know it's not true. But if they did play together every time, then Triana on her own was 5 and 5, right? Is that right? Oh man, I hope that's right. Anyway, math. All right, on to Molong. 63% win rate, 30 matches played, 19 and 11. Good job, Molong. Every time he wasn't played, it was because I couldn't pick him. So I wanted to pick him every single time. It was just I had to play against him. So every match was either I pick Molong first or I play against Molong. That was my reality in RTA. Probably a lot of people's reality. My overall win rate for the season was right around 61%. So with the next couple of monsters, we're getting to the point of these are the monsters that performed at my average or better. And then we're going to move on to below my average or worse. So worth looking at. Okay, on to Okeanos. 62.8% win rate, 22 and 13. 35 matches played, my most played monster. Okeanos is a great... I really enjoy Okeanos quite a bit. I feel like he's less countered than Gani. Sometimes Gani gets countered in a variety of ways, and I'll get into that a little bit later. He's on one of my best speed sets, so he works against Cleave. He works really well against Molong, so if they pick Molong, I'm probably going to get Okeanos in there. He works against all the win horrible things that are out there, Gani, Hathor. He gives you a chance against those. It's not like he's going to win, but he'll give you a fighting chance. The AoE stun is great. He's just a great monster. He cycles turns. He is one of my favorites, and he worked really, really well. So good job, Okeanos. All right, in not the correct sorted order, good job me, is Perna. 19 matches played, 12 and 7. A slightly higher win rate than Okeanos, but a slightly lower win rate than Molong. I didn't get my Perna into play as much as I normally do. I don't know why. My Perna is really well runed and is sustained, is meant to do all the right things. I think some of the times when I was considering Perna, I was maybe going a little bit heavier on control, and I wanted a little more control. And also, I feel like lately I'm killing enemy Pernas pretty effectively. Like, they used to be a giant problem, and now I don't worry so much about them for some reason. So maybe that's made me think, okay, maybe other people think the same way about my Perna, but I don't know. But still, above my average win rate by a couple percent. So good job, Perna. Way to go. You're great. There's Alsharian in there twice. So that's a stat issue. So he's actually 1 and 2. I just recorded him in 2 different places. Lovely. Lovely. Let's go and fix that right now. My bad, guys. These stats are not 100% reliable because user error. All right, let's move on down to Gani, who is the most used monster under my standard win rate, which is interesting to me and a little bit weird. So I want to dig into it. I played him 27 times, so third-ish most behind Okeanos, Molong, Triana, Tai, and then Gani. A lot of the times Gani would be my Molong counter pick, so they would pick Molong and I pick Oki Gani, something like that. I'm not sure why his win rate was so low. It must have to do with something I'm doing wrong, because he was a liability for me down the stretch. I mean, he won over half the matches, but any of my other selections gave me a 10% higher chance to win. So what was going on there? I need to really, maybe look through some of my old videos on the play with Gani and see if I did the wrong thing. Because I know when I fight enemy Ganis, I'm looking for very specific things. If I'm going to let the Ganny through, it's because he doesn't have enough to refresh that threatens me. So perhaps other people were looking at my Ganny and my comp and weren't scared of the refresh. My Ganny was on Swift, so he would reset first turn, which was great against Wusas because he was faster than most Wusas, but bad against full will teams, and there's a lot of full will teams. So oftentimes I would blow his third skill on whatever was not on will just to mess with the attack bars and reset the skills. And that would, since he's on Swift, it takes so long to get him back around. Maybe that was costing me, his ability to cycle turns and be ridiculous. So something to think about there. I think I need to heavily reconsider Ganny in my rotation and as one of my best statted monsters. I mean, he's on my best Swift set and it's performing at 51%. Like, I think that's not great. Maybe I'll keep some stats early next season and see if he turns it around. But I think with the nerf on skill 1, he loses his skill 1 utility. So you better have a really good buff removal option to deal with everything, right? I don't know. That worries me quite a bit. So that's the main thing worth looking into. All right. Garo, 3 and 4, 7 matches played, 42%. I feel like when I played him, he did great, but I'm not familiar enough with him to know what to keep him out of, what matches. And so sometimes I would say, okay, I need a DPS. Perna's gone. Molong's gone. It's going to be Garo. And sometimes that wouldn't work out for me. I think I can do better with him because I've got a great rune set for him. I think a pretty good vampire rune set. But that performance, if that's going to be a thing over a sustained amount of time, I can't let him in my comps. He just cannot belong. So we'll have to keep trying him out. Sierra, I don't really pick Sierra anymore. It's really weird. I play against Sierras, it seems like quite a bit. But again, the will comps are a problem. You pick a Sierra and that's a dead pick into double immunity, and then you're behind. You have 5 selections, and if one of those is dead, your opponent is doing great because then they can ban their second worst problem, and then you've got 2 out of 5 dead picks, right? So you have to be really careful, I feel like, picking Sierra. People that pick Sierra first, I generally don't worry about that much, and so that means I shouldn't be that person either. I would use my Sierra against Cleaves, and you can see the results. I mean, 1 and 2 is not great, but when I see a Cleave come up, if I see you first pick Bastet or Tiana, I'm picking Sierra because that's usually those kinds of teams' speed leads, and then, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So I'd like to see Sierra more in RTA, but I don't know that she's the right unit for what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to do long game, sustain, maybe land a defense break, and kind of outlast you through control. So there's Sierra. I feel like I did not talk about Josephine for some reason, and I'm looking at her stats right here, so we're going to jump back up. She's right under Jean in terms of win rate, 68%, which is great. 22 matches played, 15 and 7. I played her a lot, and I gave her a better set this time than last time, and I think it really paid off. She was on Violent Broken, I believe, and I'm really happy with Josephine. She is reliable buff removal. She's reliable anti-control. She's got a little bit of control herself in the stun. People don't tend to ban her, and so you get to play with her a lot, which is nice. You get to use all those tools. And the comp I was relying on heavily down the stretch was Josephine. The two of them together function very nicely. It's a lot of stuns. It's a lot of control. If someone stuns back the Josephine gives her a shield, keeps her alive. It's pretty nice. The comp I thought I would use more would be Praha Josephine, because Praha can put herself to sleep, which triggers Josephine's passive, which is kind of nice. But obviously we didn't play Praha at all. So those are my stats. That's how it went. You can see in terms of monsters I used frequently, my total monster pool was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 if you include Jean, which I think you should. So about 8, and then a lot of fringy picks, the Frans, the Garo, stuff like that. So don't spread yourself so thin that you're hurting your ability to win, right? I have 8 monsters for 5 slots. That's about right. You're going to get 3 picked by your opponent every turn, and then you still get your 5. Find a nice core team that work together, and then get a couple little fringe units to fill in the gaps, So that's kind of all I have for this season. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I forgot to update. I believe I finished G1 1928. I didn't check it because I went to bed with about 4 hours to tally, but I'm assuming 1928 is good. I'm recording this during the tally day, so hopefully it will pay off and I won't sound foolish right now. But anyway, we'll see you guys in the special league. I think it'll be a good special league. They've changed the format a little bit, so hopefully it'll be not so annoying, and we'll get to try out some of these new units. Till then, take care, everybody. Peace.